one, Spookathon, is over, ended yesterday, and I didn't do so well. I only completed 1 out of the 5 challenges, and that might be pushing it. I read 2.5 books, one of which was not in my TBR. It was called Notorious by Allison Brennan. It follows a reporter, Maxine, who goes back and like investigates cold cases, and it was fine. One thing that really kind of made me super grumpy, especially in the beginning, was she has an assistant named David, who's like a former Marine. He's half bodyguard. David turned out being gay, which was really cool. But it's like they introduce him, and then he goes on vacation. And so I was like, oh, okay, so he's just kind of in there so that there's diversity. It turned out to be a bit better than that, because they do actually have a relationship. He was not showcased, but he was throughout the book. They did talk, they did communicate, and they did have a really nice relationship. Kind of like brother, sister, best friends. It was nice to see. So that made it better, but it was still kind of wasn't the best. And it wasn't even all that suspenseful. I think the author was just trying to do too much. Maxine is going back to her hometown for the funeral of one of her old high school friends, who was actually thought to have murdered her old best friend in high school. So she never believed that he did it, and so she still kind of decides about halfway through the book that she's going to try to set out to prove him innocent and find out who the real killer is. But at the same time, there was a family member of a different murdered victim in her hometown who wants her to investigate his murder. So she's doing all that, and it's just kind of like she's working on too many cases at once. Another one pops up while she's in town. They end up all kind of being related, but it's just like, it was like juggling too much. Like, it would have been better, I think, if the author had just focused on the one murder, or had her decide to do it earlier, because it's like she's waffling the whole time. Like, you know she's gonna do it, because she wants to, and she's like always like, he wasn't guilty, the friend she went to go see, but no one else believed her. So you knew that she was gonna end up investigating her old best friend's murder again. And I just wish the author had gotten to it sooner. Because, like, there's a point in the book where it's like, oh, okay, so they found the killer, they got it, and then I realized there was 3 hours left in the audiobook. And I was just like, what is there left? Like, I didn't know. So, and then the ending was really, ended up really just a not great note. They have this, like, big emotional familial thing going on, and it's not resolved, but like it ends, and it's kind of left on this really like poignant note, and I thought that was good. And then she ends it, actually, like after that happened, she ends it with the main character and the main detective on the case hooking up. And I was just like, it wasn't necessary. Like, you knew it was coming because like they were flirting the whole time, but like I think she'd ended it earlier with the family thing, it would have been a bit better, because she kind of set it up for it continuing in that vein. So I don't know. It wasn't my favorite. The other one I read was actually on my TBR. It was Listening to the Dead by George Seaton. It was okay. I didn't actually finish it, so I'm gonna try to finish it, but it took me a while to get into, just because It did this weird thing where, like, the characters would be remembering something from the past, and you were, like, immediately dropped into the past. And there was no transition, there was, like, no warning. It was, like, all of a sudden, you were in this area, and then, like, they started thinking about it, and then you were in this, and it was all, like, the same tense. So it was really hard to distinguish, and I got really confused in the beginning, because, like, I wasn't expecting it. So, like, we would be somewhere, and then we'd be in the past, like, with the character's dad, and it was just like, wait, where'd he come from? Why are we in this different house when we were outside? So it was really hard for me to get through. Now that I know that that's something the author does, I'm gonna try to see if I can push through it. I'm only maybe a third of the way through that, maybe half. I read it on my audiobook, on my Kindle, so it doesn't have the page numbers, unfortunately, but I think I'm about halfway through. So we'll see if I actually get around to finishing that. I did finish A Stranger in the House, the buddy read by Sherry LaPena. And I have thoughts. Yeah. So I actually read that the last day of the Spookathon read-a-thon, which was kind of cool because I hadn't been doing so well keeping up with my reading, and I just kind of blew through it. First of all, it's in present tense, which is, I understand why the author did it. I get it. Not my favorite thing. It's never my favorite thing. And then the beginning, I actually like maybe the first third of the book. Like, the author does this really cool setup where there's a bunch of different character perspectives, and she leaves, and they're all like short, like maybe a page and a half. So just enough to get into their character, and then she leaves, and she always leaves them on these like really teeny tiny cliffhangers that like stacks this uncertainty. So it's like question upon question upon question upon like uncertainty and uncertainty, and it kind of like just builds this like what's gonna happen next. But then it just fell flat. Like once all those questions were answered, there was like nothing left, nowhere for it to go. And so it was just like, after the first third, like it wasn't suspenseful, it wasn't scary. It was, the title was kind of interesting to see how many different ways she portrayed it. But I also think the author was just trying to do too much in this one as well. I didn't care for it. I'm glad I finished it, but it wasn't my favorite thing. And then the ending was unnecessary. So unnecessary. The ending was just nothing. It wasn't... Yeah, so those were my thoughts. I didn't really care for anything I listened to or read for this one. None of them were particularly even suspenseful, let alone spooky, which was kind of sad. I mean, I don't like being scared, but I wish it was like a little more gripping, something I was more interested in. So that was a little upsetting, and I don't know, we'll see what I read next. I have some books in my thing that I kind of put down to do this read-a-thon, so I'm going to try to go back to those and read those. So hopefully you'll get a review of those soon. But until then, ta-ta for now!